All right, we're back. The SEC champions, reigning champions are back. It feels good to be back. Another season with the Jungle Podcast. It's usually me and Matt, but this time Matt's on a work trip, and we got Ryan Norman on the podcast. You heard him on the preseason podcast. We just won the game by 18 points over George Mason. It was a good start, and Ryan, welcome.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. It's good to get basketball started back. Good to get a little feel for what the team's going to be like. Good to see the jungle rocking again and some special visitors in the student section. But it was a fun game, to say the least.
Yeah, we got to see some new guys. That's always a ton of fun. We did this podcast last year for the first game. And we'll say it again this time. It's so hard to project out. Or actually, it's the other way around. It's so hard not to project out after these game ones. You know that your opinions are going to be like, you're going to look up at the end of the year and it's going to be so wildly different. The team's going to grow so much. Players are going to grow so much. But you're so excited and that game one finally comes after you've been wanting to see these guys for so long that you really want to project out all these thoughts on it. So we'll try not to get too crazy with it, but we'll try to stick to the same themes we had last year and see if maybe we can do a little MVP discussion. I don't know if Ryan, if you've got your guy locked in that you feel good about.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go.
So, I mean, I think just in terms of MVP, you could probably go one or two guys here, and I'm going to go Wendell just because I think he looked so in control at the point this year. I think we were talking about during the game. Last year I feel like he really tried to be too much of a scorer. This year this year, I say the first game, he was looking to pass, create more, get the offense going, and not really pull the ball out and hold it and just wait so the shot clock goes out and jack up a shot. He was very in tune with what I think Bruce wanted the offense to be like. When we need to pull back out and reset something. When he gets in the paint, he's so efficient with just the way that he shoots and scores. I think he did a very good job today, and really helped kind of command the game on the offensive standpoint in a half-court set.
Yeah, I think we really had a pretty even game amongst it, but it really felt like Wendell was the vet out there. He looked so calm out there when he was playing point. I have my issues, I guess, with Wendell for little things here and there, but tonight, man, the passing was on. And that was a big thing we talked about in the preseason pod. And at the end of the season, we had our kind of qualms here and there is that does he make the team around him better? And this one he did. He really had some great dishes to guys down low. I think there was one to Chris Moore maybe, or somebody down in there. There was two or three of them that were great. And it really felt like he came in with this pass first mentality. But you look at the box score, and he still ends up with 16 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. So he still got his points. It came to him. He didn't have to go get it. By the end of the game, he had the ball in his hand enough times. He knew when and he was dangerous enough too, where people were sticking with their mans on the passes, and he was going to get these little mid-range stuff, which is another big point of the game for him. Those mid-range shots weren't there last year. He had some great little jumpers from the free throw line that are super great. So you're playing here.
I think he looks like. I think it's so key. The offensive shooter is so key through him. It's going to be fascinating to see how the season plays out with, who are our go-to guys when we need a basket. And I think he's right now, besides Johnny Broome, I think he's number one, and Jalen Williams. I think he's number one. We need the ball in his hands. He's our most creative guy with the ball. No offense to Zepp or Trey Donaldson when it comes to being the one. We don't know what Chance looks like. We know KD can get downhill and draw contact or whatever, but in terms of creating, he's the guy. And so I think if he's able to open up this other element to his game that we saw tonight, where he's pass first, he's offensive team first, then that scoring element that we know he can do will be just as much efficient and open up more than what I think we saw last year. And that's, I think, what hindered him a lot last year. What your questions was entering this season as well.
The game looked slower for him than everybody else out in the court. It felt like he just looked smooth. And we saw Trey Donaldson come in, I think, on the third rotation, the backup point guard that we weren't sure if we were going to see a lot, but with Chance out, I think you're going to see him for a couple games till Chance comes back. And you really saw the difference in the offense from when Wendell was in or out. The Matt likes to call it stirring the drink. Wendell was in there looking smooth, making that offense move, knowing when to drive. Trey was kind of going up there. I mean, it's his first game, and honestly, we didn't think he was going to play much. And he kind of hands the ball off, and then KD hands the ball off, and then Trey hands the ball off, and Jalen hands it. It just you end up with 7 seconds on the shot clock, and KD's trying to do some sort of dribble 3-pointer. But when Wendell's in, he just knows when to go. He knows when to take those handoffs, when to go, who to get the ball to. It's super fun to watch. He's a baller. I mean, I don't want to get like into the whole weeds of my conundrum with him. We'll see, during out of conference, I don't think he's going to be tested to like the extent like we expect a lot of great things from Auburn basketball now. We've seen it over the last 5 years, the best record in the SEC over the last 5 years. Please tell your friends, tell your family, tell any opposing fans, the best record in the SEC over the last 5 years. The narrative is not out there enough, in my opinion. 2 SEC championships in the last 5 years. People need to know, but we judge it on championships now. We're judging it on these big top 25 elite games. And so we'll see if Wendell can keep this going. He looks like he's trimmed maybe a little bit of baby fat off. That'll be interesting to see if there's a little more speed there, or this whole pass first Wendell is going to carry over and make everyone else around him better come like these elite games. The only other guy I think could be in contention for MVP. I think we know our MVP. I think Wendell made it 2 years in a row. Game 1 MVP, which was super impressive last year as his first year player. And we knew he was a baller last year. We know he's a baller again. The only other guy I think you could put up there maybe if he made it 1 more shot or 2 more shots is Jonai Broome. He was just a menace on defense. And then as the game went on, he looked so smooth out there with his moves too. He had a couple weird spin ones, but he also had just some drop spins where he just put that ball in there. It looked so smooth. It gave him a too small. That was just great. The blocks were there, 4 blocks for Jonai Broome, which is just the block party's back, guys. We got to get like a cultural. I mean, we led the nation last year in blocks. If we hadn't gotten that number 1 ranking and Jabari Smith maybe going number 1 and Walker, the whole narrative would have been, we are the block team. We are the block party. We lead the nation in blocks. We got like overshadowed. This year, let's embrace that thing, man. We are the block party.
Yeah, I agree. Like Janai was he would have been my other MVP, and who I was trying to decide which one was. Because honestly, what's so great about Bruce's system and why I think this is such a good fit in there with him is that he's a plug and play guy. Like we don't lose a lot from Kessler last year. Like we'll lose the unicorn, just like you said, just long arm blocking, the block party down low with Kessler. But like in terms of back to the basket, I think we actually get better with Janai Broome with the back to the basket game than we do with Kessler. Like Kessler and Green worked so well. Wendell worked so well on the pick and roll. And like that was such a good element. I think that maybe drops up just a little bit, but we still get a great back to the basket game where you saw a lot in the first half, like Traore, Johan would flash to the front, we get him the ball, and then immediately Janai boxes guys out and post up, looking for that ball and then that quick hit in the post. And you saw that last year with Jabari and Kessler. So like Bruce's system is such a plug and play like system, and I think is only going to improve from game 1 to game 10 when you see that. But yeah, and what's crazy to me is that he's still not healthy. Like you can tell a little bit out there, he's a little slow, a little like wincy with his foot. He's still got the foot problem, probably dealing with a little sickness and illness. So like sky's the limit for him. He's a major part of this team this year.
I'm super curious why he played the exhibition game. Like the only thought I can have is they wanted to get him like a little bit comfortable in game time, but we had those Israel games. If he's hurting a little bit with the ankle, you would think just like out of caution, that game doesn't matter, but he played. So, I'm sure we have grade A professional medical staff and all that.
Yeah, I don't know how serious it is. We don't know how serious it is. Like it could be just a soft tissue, like like a plantar fasciitis type thing, where it's like not going to get worse, not going to get better. So just deal with it. We don't know that, but
the other interesting part is we don't want to compare him to Walker Kessler too much, but it's going to happen because we had an amazing guy with blocks last year. We have another guy with amazing blocks this year. I think Janai was either 2nd or 3rd or 4th or something like that in blocks in college basketball last year. Walker was number 1, I believe. Maybe the other guy came over at the end, but you're going to compare them. I think the difference you're going to see is Broom is more comfortable with the ball in his hand. He's got more offensive moves. He had a great one where he got the ball up near the 3-point line and cleared everyone out, took a dribble, backed him in, and had a great lay in. That was just like, Walker's amazing, but he didn't have the comfortability to start from the 3-point line pretty much ever. And you automatically saw that Janice just got a little more handles to him. I think he's got a little more offensive game. I think what you will see different on the con side compared to Walker is you're going to see him pick up more fouls, I believe, when it comes to the elite teams. I think Walker was just such a freak, so huge, so athletic. Joe Knight's not quite as big, not quite as athletic from a freak standpoint. He's more athletic from he just looks more like a regular basketball player. Walker looks like a freak out there. And I think you're going to get more foul calls and you're going to need more Cardwell out there. And Cardwell looks good too. So thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Broom, like people don't know this, but for those who follow like basketball a lot, Broom had a lot of 30+ point games at Morehead State. So like this dude could score and he could go off, and there'll be games where he can go off. There'll be games where he has a mismatch. There'll be games where it's going to be very important that he stays out of foul trouble, like against Oscar Sheboy, Kentucky, or some of those teams that they're going to have big veteran guys just like him. And that's something that we have just the luxury of having two guys that, we'll fall off. We fall off a lot on offense when Cardwell comes in, but defensively we don't. And I think that's much more important than offense. And, that's going to be massive. And if they can stay healthy, then, we have a shot in every game because of that.
I'm curious what Broom's 3 game is like. I see he went 0 of 1 from 3. And there was another big moment I remember where he had an open 3 and the crowd kind of had this moment like, is he going to take it? And he pulled back and made the pass, which I think ultimately this year is going to be a good thing. And I'm pulling up his stats over here to see what his 3 percentage was at Morehead State, just to know if that's like a thing in his game.
I mean, 0 for 5. So there you
go. 0 for 5 at Morehead State, you said?
If you look at season totals right now.
All right. So he doesn't have a 3-point game. It'll be another, he doesn't take those very often. But you know how Bruce is. He lets everybody shoot them. So we'll see him. I just want to expect him. This might be a good time talking about threes to talk about maybe some important stats. I think the biggest ones that stick out to me, 16% from 3-pointers, not great, but we got 14 steals to their 3 steals, 10 blocks to their 4. They turned the ball over 19 times to our 9. I mean, the big thing today was defense. We were just all over them, harassing them, using the jungle to our advantage for the home court advantage. Clearly way more athletic. KD had some amazing steals out there, and it's great in the second season to it felt almost like we're back. KD gets another just out of nowhere pick 6 style steal, and it just feels like we're back. And I think we're going to be talking about KD's Hamburglar moments for many years to come. It's just such a weird, you don't see it that often in college basketball, at least I have it, this weird innate ability for him to just pick those lanes and get that ball. And he's got this other weird one where he comes out of nowhere, the camera usually isn't on him, gets the ball knocked off the guy out of bounds. He did that again this time. Still I can't even get the replays for those. They happen so quickly. He almost every game has one where the cameras aren't ready for him to steal the ball. And Chris Moore did it again also today. So that's just another one. I don't know which stat of yours, you feel real good about.
Yeah, I mean, for sure the 3-point percentage is, I mean, it's going to be a talking point all year, and rightfully so. I mean, that can win you games, it can lose you games in today's era. So I think that's a huge just thing to always watch for. And I'm not going to start putting stock into it until, after a few games here, because it is the first game, everybody's getting their sea legs under them. It's, it's whatever. And I think the big percentage of that came from KD, which is crazy. And that's a whole separate discussion we could have about, that's going to be a major talking point and thing of contention for people all year is like, man, why don't we just let this guy shoot? Why don't we handcuff him a little bit? And I think if you handcuff him, you just handcuff his whole game like that. We're just gonna have to live with him. We're gonna have to die with him, and that's just gonna be the thing all year. And it is what it is. But
KD gives and KD takes, and he gave and take again this game. I was kind of hoping first game back, he's learned something, and he's just gonna give this year. He's not gonna take, but he gives and takes again. So we'll see. We'll be watching that again all year.
But there's gonna be games where he does have. He will go for probably 30 one game, and we'll all be like, "Oh man, this is what we're looking for." Like Yes, and then he'll do 2 for 9. It's just it is what it is. But that's just the way he plays. And if he doesn't play that way, his defense is not going like it's an all-in-one package. And Bruce knew what he got when he signed up for it. And it's just something that I mean, look, we would have lost quite a few games last year if we did not have him. And the same is going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing this year. So yeah, 3 point is a big thing. And yeah, steals, like we're doing some things defensively today that I think teams probably wouldn't be able to do till conference play. Like there was a lot of times in the first half where when the ball got down to the post, we were doubling from all the way on the other side of the court. Like there was one where the guy got the ball, KD came out of nowhere and picked it out of his hands. Like we were doing stuff that I think we're head and shoulders defensively away from teams, and I think that's why we're going to have such a good out of conference record. Is that we already have that foundation in place. Offense will come. Like we'll have some low scoring games, but that defense is going to be there, and that is going to be when it comes to out of conference play. What sets us apart from all these other teams? So your steals, blocks, of course, that comes on defense as well. But we also kept turnovers under 10, and if you keep turnovers under 15 to 20 a game, you're going to win the game. I mean, I've been taught that since high school. That's been taught in college to people. Like you don't turn the ball over, you win games. And so having 9 turnovers today is massive for the first game of the year, and I think it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward too.
I think I'm going to be watching this 3-point percent all year. I know it's early, but Bruce, I mean, we saw last year, they just weren't great 3-point shooters outside of Jabari. And so now you kind of come in thinking like, all right, what was that team going to be like without Jabari? We knew it wasn't going to be a good 3-point shooting team and it was going to hurt us eventually. And then you heard Bruce all off season. That's an amazing part about Bruce is how honest he is during a lot of these interviews. You learn a lot. I think he's pulled back a little bit on it this year, but usually he has some amazing interviews, which go back and listen to the one we had with him last podcast, I think it was, or maybe 2 podcasts ago. But he's talked about openly this whole offseason about how bad the 3-point shooting is, that it just has not improved the way he was hoping. I think we all kind of were crossing our fingers and holding our breath a little bit that Wendell and KD and Zep could really improve their shot over the offseason. Maybe even a Jalen could improve his shot some. His shot looks pretty good. Just, I don't know if he feels super comfortable or if he's ever going to be a spot up guy or what. I mean, right now it's not looking like it. And then Chance, we have like a ton of, if we haven't already talked about it, Chance did not play this game, Chance Westery. He's kind of our Swiss Army knife, in my opinion, a taller guard that can play point guard also. We're kind of putting a lot on him, I think, because we kind of know what we have with the rest of these players. So we're like, oh, well, maybe when Chance comes back, he'll hit those 3-point shots. Maybe when Chance comes back, he'll be that large guard driver that we hope Alan Flanagan might be one day. We're kind of, maybe he'll be the backup point guard. We're kind of putting him in all these different roles that we know are weaknesses and hoping he can plug all of them. I think it's kind of too much, honestly, for expectations for him. But he's also a very versatile player. And I think we saw in Israel that he has the potential to be great. So we watching that three-point percentage shooting, and I think if you can get up to 30%, I don't think 30% is some like amazing number. I think I aim for players to have 33% to be a good. Like if I'm going to call you a good 3-point shooter, you need to be above 33%. So if the team can just get 30% on the year, I think the team could be great because the defense is there. We're going to get the points down low with Broom and all these the power forwards are going to be great. If we can just get up to 30%, we should win every game that we hit 30%, in my opinion. It'll be watching away games where we do something like this 16%. It's even more worrying at home, honestly, to shoot 16%.
Well, and again, I'm not going to take much stock into it now. I mean, obviously, it was a common theme last year. It's going to be a common theme this year, but we'll see as the season goes on. Just because, you got a lot of guys out there that are just such hard players, and they're trying to go all out on defense in game one. I think Traore could be a guy that could shoot well. I think he just needs to get comfortable, just like Jabari did last year. For the first few games, I think he's going to have one of those games where he'll go for like 18 all of a sudden, and we're like, oh, like that's him. I just think guys are just trying to feel comfortable. I think Flanagan only had 3 points tonight. He's still trying to get used to being out there. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know, man. That's an interesting one we could talk about. Chris Moore started at the 3 position tonight. And I think part of that, Ryan, we were texting about, Flan was out for a weird family thing for a couple weeks. I think it was some sort of personal family things that hurt during practice because he needs it. Honestly, he had a rough year last year and he needed the practice and he missed a couple weeks. I think both him and his father. And then also, then I think he had the flu potentially or some sort of sickness too. So he's missed a lot of decent practice time that he really needed, in my opinion. And now Chris Moore is out there starting, and Bruce threatened it that Chris Moore has been playing well in practice and Chris Moore might start. But I think a lot of that comes down to Flanagan just hasn't been there to be ready to be rewarded that starting position and kind of needs to hustle his way back into it. I think ultimately, as a fan, we're crossing our fingers a bit that Chance is going to be better than both of them and he can be the starter eventually. We just got to wait for Chance to come back from that knee orthoscopic clean out, whatever they call it. I still don't know what the timeline on that is. I heard somebody say a week from now, but I've heard other people say 2 or 3 weeks from now. I heard when he got it a week. So it's kind of all over the place right now. Hopefully, at least that Mexico tournament, because we saw how big of a deal that was last year for Jabari to come in and hit all those shots against UConn. You hope that he can kind of get up there and bond with them. You mentioned Traore. That's a big one. My hope for him is that this game, which I think he was pretty quiet this game, we're very excited to see him play. Played well in Israel also. He's from France originally. But I'm hoping he's a Chuma Okiki type, like you mentioned, an Isaac Okoro type, a quieter guy that you don't see in these first couple games as much as he gets comfortable. He's not going to be the alpha guy that tries to take the ball while he gets comfortable. And hopefully the whole goal with Chance and Johan is just to get them moving up every game. And by the end of the year, as long as they reach their peak by then, I'm happy. If he has some quiet games in the ATA conference, that's fine. You're just watching to see if the game looks slower for him or not. You know, you kind of see certain guys, like you see KD just crash towards the basket. And clearly he knows what he's doing. He gets stuff done up there. But you want a guy that looks under control going towards the basket. The shots look good. He takes open shots. I don't know if we saw that this game or not. We'll be watching it over the next couple games.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, like, Auburn had the toughest, besides Memphis and Vanderbilt, they had the toughest opponent to start the season off, basically in the whole country. Just in terms of namesake and expectations for George Mason this year. They have a few guys who played in the SEC. They had a guy who that was a leading scorer in their conference last year. They're not a bad opponent to start the year off compared to, like Alabama's playing Longwood tonight. Some like a
Kentucky's playing Howard.
Yeah, like this is a very good team that will be battling in their conference against Dayton to try to get that top spot. And it's a good first game for a lot of these players, such as Traore, Donaldson. Guys just get comfortable. This Friday is going to be another one of those type of games. South Florida, not great. We were very slow offensively against them last year. That's going to be another one too, where it's just going to be another game for guys to plug and play, get used to getting out there. Chris Moore is an interesting case study this year because I feel like he can really do a lot of great things for this team. And Bruce has really always stayed with the same starting lineups from start to finish. There may be a tweak here or there, whenever, but that's going to be. I just have a hard time seeing Alan Flanagan starting on the bench for every game this year. So, I just don't know when that's going to be. And look, Chris Moore always comes out there and plays so hard the first 3 minutes, and they put Flanagan in. That's basically you have 2 starters. So I don't know what he's thinking. That's going to be something to have your eye on throughout the year is what that looks like, because we know what Flanagan can do. We hope we have the Flanagan that we know what he did his sophomore season. Him being healthy is such a good player and such a factor for this team that it'd be very concerning if that wasn't the case. And then Jalen Williams, like we had our predictions at the beginning of the year, who was going to be starting power forward, who was going to be the in power forward. But Jalen Williams, I think, is a major factor in this team. And no one talks about him because he just kind of goes in there quietly, does his thing. And then we only talk about him when he doesn't do the right thing or when he messes up or but I feel like for us to be good this year and to take that next step that we need to, Jalen has to be the factor. He has to be the guy that becomes more assertive. He has that baby hook in the post that is just unguardable. It's unguardable. And I just want him to do more. I want him to ask for the ball more. I want him to get in the post more. And I mean, he's coming up on his junior year.
Oh, it should be his senior year, but he's getting that extra COVID year, which thank God. Looking down all the people here, which I think keeps interrupting. But Jalen, he just got to be more aggressive, like you're saying. I mean, it's Matt's boy. He'll be listening to this podcast. Matt absolutely loves Jalen, and he just is not aggressive enough, in my opinion, for the size he is. And we saw his freshman year come and bounce the ball off the backboard and dunk it on people and just look like an athletic freak, and then hasn't looked like that since. He had 7 points tonight, 6 rebounds. Some of this stuff tonight is interesting. We played a lot of platoons, and we were texting around, and some of this was with Chance out, with the way we're playing. We're kind of giving people a chance and seeing who's taking advantage of that chance. I think even Bruce would admit that. You mentioned the starters. We asked him on the podcast. There was several. Go back and listen to that if you've not listened to that yet. There were several answers we got from Bruce that were kind of surprising. Me and Matt and now Ryan have been talking about how he sticks with his starting lineups. So we asked him straight up, are you going to do that this year? Are you sticking with starting lineups? Are you really going to play around with a lot with them? Like, how are you seeing this? And he didn't really accept the fact that he sticks with his starting lineups, even though it's been a tradition for as long as we've been watching them. So it's interesting to see Chris Moore in there. I think you're right. I think things are going to move around a bit. I think Chance coming back will move that around. But we were talking about Jalen too. He wasn't that aggressive. We'll see if Johan, he didn't start. We'll see if he can take over that position at some point. I think you'll see Jalen probably start the rest of the year just from a veteran standpoint. Some other people that got a chance. I don't know if we talked much about Trey Donaldson yet. Ben's favorite guy playing backup point guard. I don't know if you've listened to our preseason, but Ben Young is predicted that Trey will be our starting point guard at the end of the season. And to see him come out and play tonight was nice, but he really just did not take advantage of the situation. He looked like the kind of guy we expect he is, that he's just not quite ready for it yet. And at a conference, it's fine. He's not getting the ball turned over on him. He's not looking, desperate out there, but he's also just not looking like he's thriving. Maybe we'll see it in the next couple of games. I have a feeling he'll disappear down the lineup eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that he's able to play now. I think he just has a long way to go in terms of his development as a player offensively. Defensively, he looks a little lost at there at certain points, but the sky's the limit for him, honestly, in terms of his leadership, his ability on the court. I think the playmaking is just not quite there yet. But look, I didn't think, if you were to tell me this summer that he was going to get 13 minutes game one, I would have thought you were crazy. So it's good that he was able to get in there, get his feet wet a little bit. But you're right. I think once the year goes on, that starts to that lineup kind of shrinks a little bit in terms of minutes. That'll kind of go away. But
I'm honestly hoping that Chris Moore and Flan right now for the next couple of games are competing with each other to have more playing time when Chance comes back. Just from the way they played tonight and the way I expect them to play, honestly, I think we all would love for Flan again to be a great player and to be this great starting guy that's going and getting us 20 points and dunking on people and hitting threes. It's just not been in the cards the last year. I have not seen it. I know some other people saw it in Israel or believe they saw it. I didn't think it was there. I think Chris Moore and him are competing, hopefully, for when Chance comes back. And hopefully Chance, if we cross our fingers, is this great starter that's going to be really impressive for us by the end of the year, a go-to guy when we need points. And Chris Moore and Flan during this time will have kind of decided a bit who's going to be his primary backup. And so it's just another one of those themes tonight of take advantage, guys. And I don't know if the guys that really are on that border took advantage the way we thought they would. I don't know if Chris Moore, we love the hustle from Chris Moore tonight, 8 points, 3 rebounds. He hit a nice 3, his 1-3, the most efficient 3-point shooter on the team. He hit his 1-3 from the corner. Playing again, what'd he end up with? 3 points, 0 of 2 from 3. He actually played, I refreshed the screen just to see it. He played more minutes than Chris Moore, 23 minutes versus Chris Moore 17, even though Chris Moore was the starter. So I think that's kind of goes back to the point of is Chris Moore starting because he earned it, over Flanagan, who missed a lot of time. So be curious to see over the next couple games what happens there. But I don't know. I don't feel like the guys I was hoping would I guess Broom, but I kind of expected him to play this well, honestly. He showed a lot in Israel. He's a great transfer, but I don't know. Zepp, we haven't talked about Zepp yet. He played 1 rotation as point guard, which was interesting. Played 2 the rest of the time. A little disappointed. He was more aggressive in this one portion of the game, maybe like 2/3 through the game. He got really aggressive and tried to make some shots, and just none of them went down. His threes didn't go down. He's like the one guy on this team that I'm putting my money on that can be an efficient 3-point shooter. And he was 0 of 2 from tonight. So I just don't know what we're going to do from 3. And I hope Zep can hit a couple more shots because we're going to need them.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. I mean, it's game 1. At least we aren't Florida State that lost to Stetson or Oklahoma that lost to Sam Houston State. So I'd say we're doing pretty well, and we, some of these guys, they're going to continue to get comfortable. The rotations are going to be set. I just was looking at Bruce's post game, and he was talking about how the roles aren't defined. You're going to see a lot more of that. So we're going to see some shuffling. We're going to see some weird rotations, some weird guys playing with each other that aren't used to it. So it's fun when you have a team with 10 to 11 guys that you can plug and play at any point. There were the days back in 2016, 17, 18 where we had 6 guys. And that was it. 7. We can play the way we play defensively because we have these amount of guys that we can put in there and play and do so well at it and succeed. So that's such a luxury that we have, and I think people are just gonna have to be patient with some of these guys finding their role this year on this team. It took last year's team a few games to find that out, and a lot of people didn't really find it till the LSU game last year. So there's going to be some time. It's going to be we got a good out of conference schedule to figure that out before we go to the West Coast, and so there's some time to figure that out.
Yeah, we have some notes here from Matt about things he liked tonight. One was offensive rebounding. He says we're going to miss a lot of shots. We're going to need good offensive rebounding, and I think Dylan Cardwell came in immediately and got an offensive rebound. He's got this the rebounds, energy, and defense, and man, does he bring it. He was bringing it tonight with the swag on the sidelines. If he said on the podcast when he came on that he does not want to do wrestling, but that's a real shame because this guy should be out there with a mask on, doing some lucha libre moves, bobbing his head. Like, come on, Dylan, it would be great for Auburn basketball and great for like our brand if he could turn into The Rock. He deserves it. I know he wants to do some church stuff, but I really feel like the energy he can preach and he can minister from the square, from the wrestling square. Thoughts on rebounding, Cardwell?
Do it all, Dylan.
Do it all, Dylan, man. The next one, he liked the defensive effort and intensity, and I do think that's a big deal, especially with this platoon team. And we kind of take it for granted, honestly, that Bruce gets everyone to buy in so hard on defense. I mean, we were playing George Mason, which we know is a good team, and we know, like on Reddit, they were doing who's the most likely top 25 team to get upset, and they were picking us, not because they thought we were going to lose. Everybody else was just playing cupcakes. So we actually played a decent team, but still, they're bringing this energy. Like, I mean, they're throwing their bodies around, they're getting stepped on, and all these guys have dreams to do this. Like it's hard to get these guys to buy in like that. And Bruce just automatic gets it done every year. I mean, it helps that they're fighting for their starting spots, different things this year. But even when they're not, they're still got those guys out there. You got guys like Jabari that's looking at a number 1 overall pick, maybe still throwing his body around. So don't take that for granted that the effort we're bringing out there is a big deal. The last one, or there's 2 more. The next one is good vibes and nonverbals from everyone. Looks like a group that can grow together, enjoy playing together. Hey, chemistry is a big deal. We hope that they keep it together. We talked about it in the preseason podcast. You wonder, with a team with this many guys trying to get playing time, if you could have any kind of like inner missing out on time because someone else is being better. And I think there was a great quote that we've brought up several times in this podcast and during the Final Four run that Matt will kill me for not remembering exactly, but it's like no one man is jealous of another man on this team, and that's how you got to play. I don't know if you know that exact quote or not, Ryan.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
But Matt always brings that up, and it's a huge deal to cultivate that, especially in these days when there's so much on the line for these guys, potential NBA stuff, potential NIL stuff. That's going to get really weird in college sports. It won't. We already saw it in another sport for Texas A&M, but some of these guys are getting these big NIL deals. It's going to start getting strange who's getting what NIL deals and who's got, I think we saw with we saw it in the off season with Miami, the team we lost to in March Madness. They got a transfer and he got some ridiculous amount of money, million plus. No, it was about, I think it was $800,000 to transfer, and he's not even going to be the best player on that team. So then all of a sudden, the players on that team were like, "You're giving this guy $800,000, and we're not getting anything." I don't think so. It is like about to start a rebellion. Like it's the science of keeping these guys happy is going to get really wonky.
Yeah.
The last one is glad everyone played besides Chance and Broom looks just glad everyone played besides Chance. And Broom looks just fine health wise. I thought Broom, maybe I was just looking for it. Seemed maybe a little bit tentative on that one foot, but maybe I was just looking for it. He did have one moment where someone stepped on him and he was lipping a bit, but he didn't seem to be, you do wonder if you'll hear about that a week later or what, but I didn't think he looked too bad.
Well, Bruce just said, I'm reading his press conference right now. He said that Janai is still banged up with his ankle, so you still haven't seen him at full speed or what he's capable of doing. So, but then he went on to say that Cardwell looked the best he's looked, in terms of just his powerness, the way that he was controlling the defensive end, all that stuff. So I think there is a little tenderness with that ankle, and that will only improve. He said Janai's still a little banged up with his ankle. He can play faster and quicker, and this was the best Dylan has played. He had pop and was powerful. So, some great compliments there from the centers.
I'm curious if Cardwell can develop an offensive game. I don't know if it'll be this year. I think he might be one of those guys. I really hope. I think he's one that understands it, and I don't feel like they always do, how amazing it is to be a big time college basketball player or big time any kind of college athletics. I think anyone listening to this podcast would chop an arm off just to be able to get out there and play like that, have your full scholarship, have a chance to go to college without paying, get out there, dunk the ball, bob your head at the jungle. These guys are going to all have, like everyone in this playing right now has a chance to play for 5 years, not even having to sit down because of that COVID year. They all get an extra year. And I'm really hoping Cardwell's one of those guys. He's in his legit third year right now. And he's developed a lot since his first year. He's way more athletic. It feels like he's really playing great defensive rebounding. His offensive rebounds have gotten great. Every year he's improved. He's got 2 more years after. He's got a full year this year and 2 more years after that to develop an offensive game. And I think he can do it. I really feel like the touch from year 1 to year 2 really improved. We'll see what year 2 to 3 gets us. I hope he just keeps sticking to it because I think, this is what you want out of college players. This is why we watch, the NBA and all that. Like, sure, I love it. The cities, all the money out there, everything. What you love is a player like Cardwell that gets it, that's having fun out there, that understands the privilege he has to be able to play. He's a guy like KD that's just loving it out there. That like to watch these guys, and you're getting to see it less and less, but getting to watch these guys start freshman year as a 3-star guy that you're not sure how much he's really going to play. Is he going to be a walk-on? Oh, maybe we took him a little bit because he was friends with this or that or whatever. And now he's just this extremely lovable guy that really feels like the heart of the team. And hopefully is that guy that bridged the gaps from, hopefully we look up and like, man, this guy's been on the team for forever. And he's played with this guy and that guy. And now in his 5th year, he really has brought the team together and he's a leader and he gets it. And I would love for him in his 5th year to hit some big shot or don't have some game where he goes over 15 or 20 in the Iron Bowl of basketball or in the SEC championship or something. That's what we watch college basketball for.
Yeah, if Cardwell ever went and played against the under-21 team at Israel, we know he'd dominate because that's where his offensive game shined.
Yeah, that's what we could talk about a little bit. So Lior got in. That was an interesting factor. I think I enjoyed the cultural factor of our basketball team also. And we had an interesting Jewish student section from Israel. I think Bruce brought in some guys. I think we tweeted about it and maybe even brought it up to Bruce. I'm not sure, but they had like 100 or so students come from Israel, kind of like a reverse birthright situation to Auburn. And they were having a great time in the student section. And it took a while to get Lior in, but they were going nuts for him when he did finally get in. I wish they could have gotten him a shot.
Yeah, I had some friends there. I wasn't able to go tonight, but I had some friends that were like, they're just going absolutely bonkers the whole game. And that's so cool for them to be able to experience that type of atmosphere and for our players and our fans to just like enjoy that and just like you can only do that at the Jungle. Like that's what's so cool about it. And like you can always find a spot for just something like that there. And it's like the jungles is this open place for like, doesn't matter what you're studying at Auburn, like it's just you can just dress up as whatever you want and just show up there and like it's acceptable. Like it's such a cool, unique environment. Like, we always looked at Duke, right? Like the
Yeah.
camera crazies. And like, when we went to high school together, we were like, man, like everyone shows up to the games and just like they don't care what anybody else thinks about around them. We're like when we were in college at Auburn, like everyone like it was not a great environment. Like people didn't really cheer, they didn't really stand. But even when we saw the cliff dwellers at Beardy's, like that's when we were like, man, we know Auburn can do this because people were dressing up like crazy, they were going crazy, they did not care what anybody else thought around them, and like now you're seeing that come to fruition. And like for those, I don't know if they're students or people or what they are, for them to come and like experience that type of environment is so cool. And
I like to think I think Auburn, it feels sometimes like us a small town and we embrace the small town kind of thing. But, I live far away from Auburn. I enjoy when Auburn thinks globally and Auburn thinks nationally and is trying to win over, like, not just from like our people, it's always our people as the family. We keep it in the family or whatever. But I love when we think a little larger and we try to get that brand out there, that narrative out there, and to have students from Israel come in to watch us and take it back to Israel with them and be like, man, yeah, you want a college basketball experience? That's where you go, Auburn. I'm hoping we can continue that. I don't know if we do camps, if we can have more people. I just love anytime we're spreading the gospel of the Auburn family outside of, our usual recruiting grounds,
yeah,
Another big one I really want them to do, shout out to Michael Floyd and that student section group that's very organized and does a bunch of this stuff. Please, 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 I've been saying it for a year now. Get the B's like in baseball. In baseball, they hang up K's every time there's a strikeout the pitcher. This team is going to be a block party. There's going to be blocks. I want to see a game where we had 10 blocks this game. This is a normal game. Let's have a game where we go off for 15 or something, and on the side of the arena is a bunch of B's. ESPN would eat it up, the block party. Oh, man, there's another block. Zoom in on the corner where someone's laying the B down. Everybody's going nuts. Have a situation where 2 or 3 blocks happen in possession. We got 2 people in the student section holding up the 3 Bs that they're placing on the thing. I want that tradition started at Auburn. I don't know how to get that going. If the Jungle podcast needs to donate 20 B placards or who we need to talk to, but that would be, I'd love any kind of time we can start a brand at Auburn that makes some noise.
Yeah, let me look into that. Being the local guy here, let me see what so the problem with that is it would have to be I don't think the upper section would work because those are all video boards up there. So I don't know where you would hang.
If we could give it to the pet band, maybe they're organized enough. There's like that section right above the tunnel that doesn't have anything on it. I don't know if it's enough room because like this game we got 10 blocks. I don't know if we have enough room where it's big enough to where there's enough room for 10 Bs there or 15 or whatever. But I think we can make this happen somehow. I don't know if we need to, like, if we could find some people that be responsible. I mean, you're going to the games, Ryan. If you could find a place for them, we can donate 20 B letters with Auburn Jungle podcast on the back of them. Let me know, guys. Some of you guys have been hitting us up on Instagram and Twitter and different places. Let us know if you like that idea. We can get it started. I would love to have, something like that on ESPN,
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be funny. I'm looking at the layout here and like a picture, and I think if we have like the right design of the bees, we could make it work. We just have to get some buy-in from the people of like that row, and I think you could. Like it'd be a fun
or the cheerleaders. Maybe they're already kind of moving around. If they have it in their little corner and they just go put it up every time there's a bee, or the scorer's desk. If we can just get a backup score guy that does the box score, to like hold up the B when he's ready and somebody grabs it and puts it up there for him,
Yeah.
I don't know. We're brainstorming on the podcast here. Reach out to us if you think you can get this done, or if anybody thinks it's a good idea. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this particular game. We've got another one. What's the next game we got against Texas Southern next?
No, this Friday against South Florida.
All right, that'll be fun. I think we have another sport playing on Saturday that people seem to enjoy watching. So maybe we'll have a big atmosphere on Friday and a big atmosphere the next day for the other sport. And
Tickets are tickets are pretty crazy for that game on Friday. I think the cheapest ticket for an actual seat is 185 right now. So I mean,
wow.
everyone coming to the town for the game the next day. So those are usually really hard tickets to find.
They showed the sellout this game. I think we talked about it last year. That's so interesting. We got these sellouts, amazing atmosphere. But if you look around the stadium, there's still these little chunks of empty seats. And you wonder, like, if these tickets are going for $185, how are these people not putting it for sale? They just don't care. Like, how do
Well,
we
so
get
I
them
think
incentivized to put their seats up for whoever, you know?
yeah, so I think tonight, like
It's Monday, I get it,
it's
but
Monday. There's a lot of there's a lot of virus going around here in the daycares and
mm,
stuff. I'm sure that, which is part of the reason why I'm here. And
if
so
you have the flu and you didn't go to the games, you didn't want to get other people infected, good on you. I do support that. Everybody be
yeah,
nice to your neighbors,
it's been running rampant here. So I think that's a big reason. But I think this Friday you're going to see a pretty packed out environment. I remember like one of the best games I've ever been to was UAB in 2016 when or 2015. It was the Friday before a game. Like it was one of Bruce's first games. Horace Spencer's first game at Auburn when he had the big block to win the game. Like those type of Friday night atmospheres on a football weekend is going to be great. So South Florida, they're going to be they'll be a formidable opponent. I mean, I don't think they're great by any means. They are already lost. So they lost to Southeastern Missouri State tonight.
mm.
So
They gave us trouble last year, guys, though. Don't forget, in Tampa, which shout out to the St. Pete's Auburn Club again. I've done that several times because they had such a great crowd at that South Florida game that was like 3 South Florida fans. The rest of the fans were all Auburn fans. But
yeah,
so just
I
watch
think
out. Be really curious. If we have a super low scoring game, I'm going to be very irritated that South Florida has been able to like get our number on defense. But,
I think that was just sometimes how we play in away games. Like I think you're
yeah.
going to get pretty lopsided result. At least I hope. But yeah, so we got South Florida, and then I believe it is Winthrop after that. So
Me and I rarely get to go down to a home game. I actually been to more away games than home games the last couple of years in both sports. But Matt goes down a decent amount for games. Ryan, we now have someone that comes on the podcast that actually goes to a lot of the home games. So to see Ryan around the arena, Neville Arena, we're embracing the Neville Arena.
yeah,
Go say hi to Ryan. Let us know about the show, things you want to hear. Leave us some reviews. I don't, I think we've gotten so many reviews and likes and stuff now. I don't really feel like we have to like ask for it anymore. But hey, maybe the first game of the season, first post game pod, go in there and leave some reviews and stars. Let's get a second season going. Tell some people that maybe didn't know last year. We're gonna have fun again this year. I think this will be another really fun team. Anytime Bruce Pearl's our coach, we're gonna have a fun team to watch. And it wasn't always that way. So enjoy every minute of it.
enjoy every minute because you never know when it will end.
Yeah. Ryan, any last thoughts before I end it?
No, I think look, no one's talking about Auburn. No one. Everyone's talking about Arkansas. Everyone wants to talk about Tennessee. Everybody wants to talk about Kentucky. Guys, we're defending SEC champs last year. It just makes me so mad that no one talks about us, and we're just gonna quietly step in there, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh wow, Auburn." Well, you should have known.
Love it. I love that. I am totally with you. Every year, Tennessee is getting this like hype that they always do worse than their hype. We always do better than what we come in as. Arkansas is getting all the love this year. Super annoying. Don't even care about Kentucky's love because that's like fighting the ocean. You're never gonna fight the hype against Kentucky, but the Arkansas Tennessee hype really irritates me. We both circled that Arkansas game in Neville Arena in the early of the year, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, we see some upsets in these next couple days that aren't us. That'd be fun. We saw Evansville beat Kentucky. You never know. But
You never
we're
know.
glad we're back. War Eagle Ryan.
Yeah, Warrior, thanks for having me. Looking forward
Yeah.
to it.